There is no greater blessing than to have good health as you grow old. Even though my mom is over 70, she is peppy and full of energy. One day, our family started practicing Taekwondo, and it turned out to be a special blessing for us. Taekwondo family, return to happiness.
옛날에는 택시부터 시작해가지고 버스, 덤프트럭, 낮과 밤이 없이 몸이 부서지도록 일을 했죠. 그러다 보니까 몸이 많이 망가졌어요. 허리 협착증도 생겼고 무릎도 아프고. 이제는 내 삶이 다 됐는갑다 생각을 하고 사는 것도 싫고 완전 좌절을 했죠.
지팡이를 짚고 다니실 만큼 근력이 약해지셔가지고 너무 힘들었는데 우연찮게 실버 태권도라는 거를 알게 되셨어요.
다리도 안 올라갔거든요, 솔직히. 근데 64세부터 태권도를 해서 7년째 하고 있습니다.
인상도 너무 밝아지셨고 빨리 가고 싶다고 하시고 도복을 보면서 흐뭇해 하시더라고요. 그때부터 어머니의 삶이 다시 시작이 된 것 같고 지팡이를 안 짚기 시작하셨어요. 그게 진짜 놀라운 변화인 것 같습니다.
어르신들이 운동을 통해서 노년을 건강한 생활을 할 수 있게끔 도와주는 게 바로 저는 태권도라고 생각이 듭니다.
Not only did Mother experience this change, but her fellow teammates also felt reborn due to the dramatic change in their lives.
너무 좋아요. 온 세상을 다 얻은 것 같죠. 제가 태권도 전도사가 된 것 같아요.
열정이 높으신 분이죠. 그 가족 전체가 태권도 가족입니다. 아주 화목하고 건강이 넘치는 대한민국의 대표적인 태권도 가족이 아닌가 싶습니다.
We're a family that loves practicing Taekwondo, so we've embarked on a new challenge.
사실 저희 가족들이 아픔이 정말 많습니다. 제가 아침에 일어났는데 반신이 마비가 왔었고 저희 아이는 태어나자마자 인공 심박기를 달았었고 정상으로도 살기 힘들다는 진단을 받았었지만 이 아이를 보면서 기적이라는 것을 알게 됐거든요. 그래서 태권도는 행복 그 자체입니다.
태권도를 해서 강해지니까 더 자신감이 올라가고 행복해요.
I believe Taekwondo is a blessing from heaven. It has made us hopeful for the future. Every day, we're excited to see what's in store for us tomorrow. Practice it with your family. Taekwondo brings happiness.
어렸을 때 아버지가 클래식을 좋아하셔서 자연스럽게 공연장을 이제 가족들이 다 같이 가게 되었는데 그때 포피아노 연주를 제가 실제로 가서 봤었는데 그때 이제 너무 멋있다 생각이 들어서 부모님께 피아노를 하고 싶다고 졸랐습니다. 저조차도 누군가의 연주를 보고 이렇게 피아니스트를 꿈꿔왔듯이 누군가도 제 연주를 듣고 다양한 감정을 이렇게 느꼈으면 좋겠어요. 어쨌든 저는 21세기 사람이니까 21세기 트렌드를 또 잃으면 안 될 것 같아서 간혹은 또 가요나 팝송도 많이 들으려고 노력하고 있고요. 그러다가도 또 이제 다시 클래식으로 돌아오게 되더라고요. 그냥 클래식 음악은 진짜 어떤 시대에 들어도 누구나 공감할 수 있다고 생각을 해서 그래서 클래식 음악이 제일 마음에 와닿는 것 같아요. 지나바카오 콩쿠르에서 특히 2라운드 연주가 저는 항상 기억에 남는 게 너무 무서웠어요, 사실. 한 음만 치는데 다음 음이 뭐였는지 기억이 안 날까 봐 너무 두렵더라고요. 악몽을 너무 많이 꿨었고 연습을 하는데도 불구하고 끝까지 안 되는 음악적인 패시지라든지 테크닉적인 패시지들이 있는데 그게 무대 위에서 정말 무의식적인 세계에서 갑자기 해결이 되는 경우가 있더라고요. 그랬을 때 이제 희열을 확 느끼는 것 같아요. 제가 지금 공부하고 있는 곡들, 즐겨 연주하고 있는 곡들이 사실 클래식 음악을 처음 접하는 분들에겐 익숙하지 않은 곡들이지만 지금 제 나이에 가장 잘 표현할 수 있는 음악이라고 생각을 해서 그런 레퍼토리를 준비를 하고 있는 거니까 같이 즐겨주시고 같이 공유해 주시면 감사하겠습니다.
News Center. Anchor Kim Da-mi's concise delivery brings major issues from home and abroad. We examine domestic affairs in a global context. And our news covers economic situations, social issues, cultural updates, and more. Swift on-the-scene reports enhance our information reliability. How much of the news do you really understand? Delve into a single issue with press perspective. Anchor Min Sun-hee's insightful delivery meets the expert panel's sharp analysis. Through multifaceted interpretations of diplomacy, economy, and socioculture, discover a wider perspective. Come explore the diverse K-culture and arts world. Performances that are traditional and original, contemporary and classical. Fusion shows that bend and blend genres. Each scene and breath carrying emotions and stories. Experience the power of art captured vividly on Perform Arts Reload. Ready to get hyped up? Let's go behind the scenes of K-pop rookies' performances. From the thrills and nerves in the green room to rehearsals, heartfelt interviews reveal the rookies' raw energy and true feelings. Meet the charming new K-pop acts winning fans worldwide on Spotlight Rookies.
안녕하세요. Riding on the Korean wave. Welcome to Friday's edition of The Culture Wave. I'm Kwon So-ah in Seoul. Explore with us Korea's culture from all aspects and stay up to date with K-entertainment with a special focus on film and AI today, K-diplomacy, K-everything. And joining me today in the studio is my co-host Bella Kim. Hello, Bella.
Hi, Soa. And hello to everyone joining us today on The Culture Wave. I'm Bella, here to co-host and fill you guys in with the latest in K-entertainment news.
And we also have Arirang's news features reporter Park Hyo-bin in the studio. Welcome back, Hyo-bin.
Hi, Hyobin.
Hi, Soa. Hi, Bella. And it's long time no see. And hello, everyone. My name is Park Hyo-bin, and I'm a news features reporter here at Arirang News. Thank you so much for having me today.
Well, long time no see because last time you reported from Yeongjo.
That's right.
So we missed you in the studio. But now you're back in the studio and back in Seoul. And Seoul has been busy as well when it comes to culture events. So what's happening this time?
That's right, Soa, because I think sometimes sometimes cultures speak louder than politics. Beyond the government talks, I think it's the culture that really connects the people. And in line with that, Seoul is showing how culture exchange can tie nations closer together. Let's take a look. Dancing, music, and shared laughter. What may look like a festival is in fact a stage for diplomacy. Unlike traditional diplomacy that centers on government negotiations, public diplomacy brings citizens themselves to the forefront of culture exchanges. And this week, Seoul has become the very meeting ground as it hosts the 7th Public Diplomacy Week under the theme Connecting the World Together. More than 30 foreign embassies and cultural centers in South Korea are taking part.
The event is more than just seeing different cultures. It allows visitors to take part, which enables a real culture exchange to happen.
At Poland's booth, a lace-making session is in full swing. Visitors carefully weave lace out of thread finer than a strand of hair. Each stitch reveals the intricacy of Polish craft, drawing curious eyes and hands into the process.
I've always liked knitting, so when I heard this was traditional crocheting from a country I didn't know well, I was curious to try. It's more fun than I expected.
Meanwhile, at the Colombia booth, vibrant music fills the air as dancers perform the traditional rhythm, kumbancha. Moments later, a workshop transforms dance into dialogue as visitors learn steps and instruments directly from the performers.
Well, culture and arts can strengthen the diplomacy between the two countries. And today we brought music, but there are several other expressions, particularly in Colombia. So what we are trying to do is have a comprehensive portfolio of cultural expressions and basically literally cross the world to show it to Korea.
By using culture and art as a medium, the event demonstrates the power of public diplomacy that transcends borders. Organizers say it proves that diplomacy is not confined to meeting rooms, but can also flourish in everyday cultural exchanges.
Public diplomacy is about two-way exchange between our citizens and foreigners in South Korea, deepening mutual understanding and allowing people to share South Korea with the world while learning from other cultures.
Public Diplomacy Week, which runs until this Saturday, proves that in today's world, culture has the power to act as diplomacy itself.
Yoo-bin, that was such a colorful event. I mean, knitting, dance, so much culture under one roof. But honestly, it looked more like a festival than diplomacy.
That's a great point, Swa, because I think it maybe seemed like a festival is actually a diplomacy in action. So instead of governments sitting across negotiating tables, citizens themselves are stepping forward as the real diplomats. And what was notable was that at Poland's booth, for example, people started conversations about heritage, history, and beauty in detail while making lace. And those small moments of culture exchange can add up to trust between the countries.
Indeed, and the Colombian booth looked so much fun and full of energy. It almost looked like a festival.
That's right. Actually, I think the Colombian booth was one of the perfect examples that kind of shows that art can be a universal language as well. So even if you don't speak Spanish or Korean, you can dance to the same rhythm. And the Colombian ambassador told me that's exactly their goal, to use music and arts as the portfolio of culture expressions that can strengthen ties with Korea and with the world.
I think it looked like the carnival festival, in fact.
Definitely. And it's very fair to say now that diplomacy isn't just happening in conference rooms anymore.
And I mean, the power of culture is stronger than ever, and that's why it's so important to showcase all those cultural aspects to deepen ties between countries. And I guess that's also the role of the Culture Wave.
Yeah, of course.
And thank you very much, Yoo-bin, for your report today.
Thank you, Yoo-bin. It was my pleasure.
Time for some K-entertainment news with Bella Kim. Bella, today we will have to start off with the death of a veteran comedian.
Veteran South Korean comedian Jeon Yoo-seong, widely known as the godfather of comedy for his wit and warm personality, died on Thursday at the age of 76. According to the Korea Broadcasting Comedy Association, Jeon died after his pulmonary pneumothorax condition worsened. Jeon began his career in 1968 as a comedy writer and later turned to performing rising to fame through hit programs such as Humor No. 1 and show video Jockey. He became a central figure in the golden age of Korean broadcast comedy in the 1970s and 80s. He is survived by his daughter, and the mourning altar is set up at Asan Medical Center in Seoul.
Our hearts are with his family, colleagues, and fans. And Bella, our next story is on a documentary celebrating a 10th anniversary of a K-pop group. Is that true?
Yes, that is correct. TWICE have released a trailer for their upcoming documentary film 1 in a Million in celebration of their 10-year anniversary. The documentary follows their decade-long journey of countless hours of dedication, the dazzling spotlight of worldwide tours, and candid reflections on their growth, friendship, and even their dreams for the future. And through never-before-seen interviews and the heartfelt process of preparing the 10th anniversary celebration, the film reveals what TWICE have truly meant to one another, and of course to the fans once who have walked beside them all along. 1 in a Million will premiere in Korea on October 20th, the day of their 10th year anniversary. And after its premiere in Korea, the film will hit theaters in countries around the globe, including the US, Japan, Australia, and Spain. And you'll also be able to catch a familiar face in the documentary.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my, that was unexpected.
For like 10-15 seconds.
Okay, I'm definitely going to try to check that out.
So
wow.
check it out.
Very exciting for once, and for all the Culture Wave viewers maybe as well. And Bella, let's end off with another upcoming film.
That's correct. A comedy action film, Boss, will premiere in theaters just in time for the Chuseok holiday, which is a fall harvest season similar to Thanksgiving here in Korea. The film's humor comes from the intense rivalry between Suntae and Kangpyo, two second-in-commands who are desperately trying to avoid becoming the boss of their gang. It stars Jo Jin, Jung Kyung-ho, Park Ji-hwan, and Lee Kyu-hyung. The film drew attention as an official selection for the Today's Korean Cinema special premiere section at the 30th Busan International Film Festival. Boss will hit theaters on October 3rd.
Sounds like the perfect movie to watch with your family during the holiday. Well, thank you very much, Bella, for those updates, and stick around.
Will do.
And now let's go over to our AI anchor, Ari, for more on the culture front. Ari?
Hello and welcome to your AI guide to the latest cultural updates from Korea. Here's our top story. The government has unveiled a major plan to revamp the K-tourism industry. It includes developing new tourism hubs outside Seoul for foreign tourists, while also encouraging domestic travel through support for travel expenses and vacation programs. Outdated tourism laws will be overhauled, and Korea's tourism infrastructure will be enhanced to adapt to fast-developing AI technologies. The plan was laid out during a tourism strategy meeting on Thursday, attended by Prime Minister Kim Min-seok and Culture Minister Choi Woo-young. The government aims to surpass its goal of attracting 30 million foreign visitors by 2030 and position Korea as a global tourism powerhouse. The Seoul International Fireworks Festival will illuminate the night sky over Yeouido on Saturday with a spectacular display of colorful fireworks. With an expected crowd of around 1 million, authorities are on high alert, taking extensive safety measures. Over 3,400 police personnel will be deployed to the site, and traffic controls will be implemented on surrounding roads to ease congestion. Under the theme Light Up Together, this year's festival will feature 3 teams representing South Korea, Italy, and Canada. The 2025 Busan International Photo Festival has opened its doors. Curated by artistic director Lee Yoo, this year's exhibition reinterprets photography, long influenced by Western culture, through a uniquely Korean perspective. The main exhibition is Hongbul, Light of the Abyss, held at Seokcheon Hall in Jeongjo district, which seeks to present new perspectives on the identity and potential of Korean photographic art. Throughout the month-long festival, works by some 200 photographers from 24 countries will be showcased across 3 exhibition halls. That's all from me. Stay tuned to the Culture Wave.
AI is permeating all aspects of our daily life. In film too, the use of AI from editing techniques to actors' performances is increasing. Korea's first feature-length AI-produced movie is also set to premiere soon. How will that impact Korea's film industry from here on? Let's discuss the present and future of AI cinema with Jae-soo, professor and filmmaker at Seoul Institute of the Arts. So welcome back, Professor Soo.
Hello,
nice to be back.
So, Professor Soo, it seems like AI is being introduced at various film festivals around the world these days. And also recently we had the Reply AI Film Festival, and that was part of the Venice International Film Festival, as far as I understand. So what do you make of this trend?
Well, even domestically, we recently had the Busan Film Festival. That all this AI section was there, and also Busan will have an AI section. What's interesting about the Venice one, the Reply one, is that it basically, you know, they accepted films that were completely, you know, made by AI, the story to be generated by AI, and the winning Giselle Tong won for a movie called To Dear Me. It's kind of a self-reflective movie with a lot of sort of, I guess, dreamy sequences in it. And what's interesting also is the people that actually programmed it, you know, like the judges were experts in both the IT field and also in film. So they had the director, Rob Minkoff of Lion King, be one of the sort of the judges. So I think there's a push for a lot of this AI stuff happening. I mean, domestically, you know, we're really seeing sort of many companies starting to use AI technology. So I think to promote that, what's better than to promote it at a film festival or a big event like that? So there's many AI festivals all around the world right now. Yeah.
So we want to talk about AI films in Korea. Next month, Korea's first feature-length AI film made with AI, Run to the West, or 중간계 in Korean, is set to be released. So what is this film about, and what impact or what aspect do you expect it to bring to Korean film industry?
Yes, so I guess the English title is Run to the West, 중간계, and the director is Kang Yoo-seong, who basically he's famous for the Roundup movie 범죄도시, and also he had a series on Disney called Casino. You know, that was a really big sort of a series, and now he's come up with a story basically about, it's sort of a fantastic story about basically a realm between death and the afterlife, and there are these creatures called Reapers. So it's basically the location's the city of Seoul. And so a lot of fantastic sequences come out in the movie where there are a lot of chases between creatures, from, I guess, devils to all kinds of evil that's sort of chasing these people. And one of the interesting things about it is that it stars Byun Yo-han and many other stars, but he used AI technology in a lot of the special effects. So I could imagine, I watched the trailer, of course, the movie's coming out on the 15th, but it seemed like there's a lot of sort of really surrealistic, far kind of interesting sort of CG special effects happening in the movie about that. And I think what's interesting is that, you know, even though recently, like, I visited CG, you know, places like Dexter Studio, and I've asked them like what they're doing with AI, and they're still in the research phase of it. It's still used basically to maybe do pre-visualization. So before you actually shoot the movie, you might use AI technology to kind of like see what it's going to look like. But I'm sure even, you know, this movie, even though maybe AI generated a lot of the images, the actual like finessing of it and using VFX is probably still done by hand. But we'll see. You know, it's something I'm looking forward to see, like how they used it in this movie as well.
Right. We just saw some of the footage of the trailer, and just from that, I didn't really know whether it's AI or not. And you just mentioned CG. In fact, Professor Soo, people might be wondering what's so special about having like an hour-long film that's like featured with AI. What's the difference between that and films that have some very realistic computer graphics?
Well, not much, but the thing is, it's generated, one is generated by a machine, the other by humans. But I don't think we're at the stage where you can automate that situation. I mean, I've used Runway and Midjourney. These are kind of software that you use to make, you know, video with, and it's really frustrating to create something you really want. Like, for example, you know, I would say something like, you know, create this woman warrior with a lot of weapons. So it'll come up with a fantastic idea, but I only like maybe 10% of it. So I would say keep the 10%, and I want to change all this. And then it starts changing in a different way to the point where I've spent so much time trying to futz with this machine that I'm thinking I should have just done it by hand to save time. But I'm sure what they're using in the industry right now is more so towards audio. You know, there are a lot of movies that are coming out where, you know, you need to kind of change an accent that somebody's doing and you want to match the lips to something. And I think AI is something that can use to sort of speed up the process, because a lot of these movies have a release date. And they're running against this kind of deadline where everything is kind of coming together at the last moment. And I think AI really helps to keep on deadline. But as of yet, I don't think you can just tell AI, hey, create this for me, and it's going to do it.
Interesting. Well, now let's go over to Hollywood. Last year, we had the film Here starring Tom Hanks, and that really drew attention back then because also featured the much of AI technology. You could see how Tom Hanks from his early years, from his youth to like when he becomes old, all of that was through AI technology. So what are some other examples that we're seeing overseas right now?
Well, Here was an interesting example because it's based on a graphic novel by Richard Maguire. And basically it's a story about like one spot on the earth, like millions of years, and it happens to come to characters that Tom Hanks and I think the director, Robert Zemeckis, is somebody who's always embraced technology. If you see his filmography, he's done everything from motion capture stuff on animation to he uses a lot of CG technology. So I think he wanted to do this thing. And what's interesting about the way this was made was also, you know, the de-aging. So you have Tom Hanks and then 20 years, so you take out all the sort of like the aging things that the actor has. But what's interesting is they did it in real time. So it's not like in post where so the AI sort of driven sort of CG technology is that the camera captures the image and instantly changes it to a younger form. So you're kind of shooting in that way. But as of now, I think Here it's definitely a benchmark. I think some people have said, sort of criticized the movie and said, you know, what is this? Is this like a big promotion movie for AI? But I think at the same time, you know, as I mentioned before, you know, there's movies like The Brutalist or Emilia Perez that won the Oscar, and they used AI technology, but mostly not towards the visuals, it's the audio. So for Emilia Perez, it was like basically some of the actors, I guess, they weren't able to hit the notes. So AI kind of went in and changed their singing. You know, so I guess it's like an automated auto-tune type of situation. And also for Brutalist, you had Adrian Brody, who won the Oscar for Best Actor, and he spoke Hungarian. Apparently he's able to speak some of it, but they used AI to sort of enhance his lips and sort of the sound of what he's making. So there's a lot of controversy, like, did he really deserve the Oscar for that, for acting, or is it AI that really helped to enhance his performance?
Right. I remember us talking about that before on our show as well. Now coming back to Korea again, recently a domestic AI film contest utilizing actors' faces and voices was held. Last year it was It's Me Moon-hee featuring veteran actress Na Moon-hee, and this year it's Me Go-jun starring actor Go-jun. So what do you think of this attempt and actors, you know, allowing their own IP to be used for these AI films?
This is a company called MCA, and I think they get a lot of money from KT. So it's KT's like really driving this. And what's interesting about this is the Na Moon-hee was like, the actor didn't really come out to act in the movies. It was like they scanned her face and her body, and they had her play all different kinds of characters. So it's the second version of this, but I think what's kind of interesting about this one is it's a competition. So they're letting anybody use Go-jun's face and voice to make a story. So you can use those elements that the AI have provided, and then you can kind of come up with your own story. So it could be a horror movie that Go-jun is in, and also like a sci-fi movie or a drama. So basically the actor himself is given the IP permission, or, you know, his rights to be used. But I think Go-jun's already kind of an interesting guy. He has a YouTube channel. He's very media savvy, and I understand that he went to film school, so I can understand why he'd be interested in this technology. But it's really interesting because you have a celebrity that has allowed his likeness to be used in a content that basically it's a competition. So if this really succeeds, is there going to be a certain point where an actor could act in 10 movies simultaneously because you have AI sort of doing all the work for you.
That would be very interesting for the actors to watch themselves in those movies.
Right.
Wow, is that actually me or? But anyways, now let's talk about some laws here. The AI Basic Act is expected to take effect next year. So that's going to have an emphasis placed on promotion rather than regulation. So what do you think will this act, what kind of impact will this have on the film industry?
Well, a lot of people believe regulation is really necessary for AI because there's also copyright and ownership, you know. But at the same time, Korea's finally gotten around to doing it. It's sort of the wild, wild west right now because there are no regulations. In Hollywood, you know, a couple of years back, they had sort of all this, you know, they had a strike, the writer's strike, and a lot of the terminology was about use of AI. You know, for example, in Hollywood, if an AI created a novel, AI cannot use the novel to make a screenplay. It has to be human. They have these laws for that. So this law, which is going to take place in 26 next year, there's a sort of the clause that everybody's talking about is this thing called high-risk AI and generative AI labels on things. So basically, if you have a small, like, two-person operation and you're making AI content, they want you to, they're kind of forcing you to sort of watermark and make sure that what you did is original. And the disadvantage to that is, like, when you start to do that, like the bigger corporations like Naver or Samsung, they have a definite advantage over small entrepreneurs. So I think there's always been this sort of, you know, how much regulation do you do that will enhance the industry instead of, you know, stopping it? So we have this sort of thing happen, but I think what this regulation, it's very loose, you know, and I think it just will provide a framework to start out with. And I think if a lot of, you know, content providers are like, this is getting in the way, I think they will have to change or amend the actual, you know, rule itself. Yeah.
Right. And also with AI films, there's always controversy surrounding ethical and copyright issues as well. So what do you see is the biggest challenge AI films will face in the future?
Well, you know, one thing's interesting is, like, you know, recently, I think at the Procession Film Festival, there's a movie by a Polish director who fed AI Werner Herzog movies. And then he said, write me a Werner Herzog screenplay. And then he made the movie based on that screenplay. So now the big question is, I'm sure he got permission from Werner Herzog, but let's say Werner Herzog didn't give permission. Basically, when you start to teach these AI tools, like, you know, I'm going to teach it everything that's available in terms of content, and you're not paying for that content, now that's a problem. Because whether you trained it and it's now making content that's similar to other artists or authors that have done stuff, you have to ask that question, like, okay, so, you know, you use this content, did you pay for it? And a lot of times they have not. For example, OpenAI openly admits that they've paid for some content, but they have not paid for everything, because there's too much. So there has to be sort of regulation, and I think that's the controversy, is basically all of this stuff is, you know, really great new toys that we can use, but would it be good to use that in harm of using content that somebody else made, and you trained AI to sort of, by feeding it all this stuff, and you haven't really paid for that? That's definitely a sort of a problem that we could see happening in the future. And it affects all content creators in that way, too.
I guess really the balance between promotion and regulation is the biggest task ahead. Well, thank you very much, Professor So. That's all the time we have today. See you next time, and have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Bella, as always. We're going to see you back here next week.
Yes, I'll see you back next week.
Thank you for spending the past half an hour with us on the Culture Wave. Have a culture-filled weekend, everyone, and we'll be back on Monday, 2 p.m. Korea time.